Hi, and welcome to another edition of Dr. Mel's Message. I have a wonderful author ready to introduce you to. His name is Nick Berg. So without further ado, Nick, welcome to Dr. Mel's Message. How are you?
I'm very good, Dr. Mel. Thank you for having me.
I
Appreciate
tell
it.
you what, I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you in a weird little way between the book and the interview, the written interview, and all, everything that I've done. But I tell you, you are one fascinating person. So first of all, tell us about the title of the book and what's it about.
So the title of the book is Shadows of Tehran. It's a fictional autobiography of my life story, basically. Growing up in Iran with an American father and an Iranian mother. And my father was part of CIA, and he left Iran. And I grew up in Iran with my mom. And during the revolution in Iran, all of the Islamic government, and I had to leave Iran quickly because I was working against the Islamic government in Iran, and they found out about me. And so the story of the book is basically that story of leaving Iran, coming to the United States, not knowing English, not knowing anybody, and joining the army and ending up in U.S. Special Forces and fighting
Wow.
in
Now, what year
Somalia.
was all of this?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
What year was all of this?
I landed in the US in 1987
Okay.
and joined the Army in 1988. And I was in the US Army for 11 years, went through Special Forces. I was in Bosnia, in Somalia, in the first Gulf War,
Whoa.
and being injured in Bosnia in a conflict, and then learning how to walk again. And that's how the story goes,
I
basically.
mean, so it's what I call faction. It's based
Yes,
on fiction, quote, but true facts.
yes.
And
And the
of
main
course,
reason that is,
you
yeah,
took
the main reason
editorial
that
liberty and probably expanded and enhanced and, et cetera, which is, what was the purpose of you wanting to write this book?
so every time somebody hears my story, they keep saying, "You got to write this down. This is just amazing.
It
It's
is.
unbelievable. You have to write this down."
It should be a movie.
Yeah, so that's really what it is. And so I started writing the book. I had a writing coach because English is my third language. So I had a writing coach. He's a three times New London Times bestseller. So he helped me write the book. And so this is the first of the three books that are coming. So the second book will be about the continuation of the first book. And the third book is the prequel, which is my father's journey through U.S. Navy intelligence, and then going joining the CIA and becoming a CIA operative. He passed away a year ago, so he basically told me a lot about the unclassified stuff he could tell me.
Well, I guess we don't want to go to jail, so we better not discuss those things.
Absolutely.
I think we'll just bypass that question. So, what is your most desire for a reader, even like myself, that picks up your book and reads it? What do you hope that they get out of it?
Is that whatever, as the quote, the famous quote in the book is from Winston Churchill: "If you're going through hell, keep going, and you don't want to stay there." And the main theme of this book is resilience, is how to overcome everything that happens to you. And you're the only person that decides to be a victim or be a survivor,
Oh,
not things that happen to you. It's
amen
your
on that.
choices is what makes you who you
Yes.
are.
I tell people that all the time, that one incident, whether good or bad, does not define you as a
Right.
person. You
Absolutely.
define you as a person. And it's how you, as you said, responds to it and becomes resilient with it.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
beautiful. I love that message in that book with that. And that's fantastic. Now, being having an American father, you didn't have to worry about U.S. citizenship.
Right.
right? You
That's
had dual
correct.
citizenship.
I had dual citizenship.
Did you, if you can't talk about it, just say I can't talk about that, we'll move on. But did you experience, because of your background from Iran and everything that you're going through, did you experience any hostility from any military, unit members or anything?
Not, I wouldn't call it hostility.
Okay.
I would call it not understanding, because military is a very different place. Everybody wears green, and once you're in there, you're kind of, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood that everybody respects other person for you being there. Now, were there prejudices? Yes, absolutely. I mean, in basic training, this part is in the book. They called me the terrorist, and I took that as a loving way of them looking at me and really understanding where I came from and how life was during that time. This was in the 80s, so it was
Right,
in
right.
late
I
80s,
know things were a little
90s. So,
different in the 80s, but we were
yeah.
still, then the war, of course, came out with Iran and all of that. So I'm sure you had to have backlash, some sort of that.
Yeah, there was something, but once they got to know me as a person, things
Hmm.
changed.
I
And
believe that. You're a very
it's
gentle
all about,
soul.
yeah, it's all about understanding. It's all about not taking offense to people because we all carry things with us all the time, and it's the baggage that we have learned throughout our life and stereotypes and all of those things. And so I don't hold that against anybody. I would rather have a conversation with them and how to for them to give them that understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you think the rest of the world will just take time if you're afraid of somebody because, quote, they're not from your country or your neighborhood or, even your city or whatever, then just say, hey, can I spend some time getting to know you?
Yes.
If people would do that, we wouldn't have, well, I'm sure, I live in New Orleans and New Year's Eve, we were hit with a terrorist.
Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
so and a lot of people, 15 people died, and over 57 people were injured in that. And I could see, honestly, um, even interactions. If you looked foreign, people would look at you like suspicious, And
Right.
I don't get those looks, but I was noticing that. And I have a neighbor that is, you know, uh, his home country is at war right now. We'll put it at that way.
Right.
And I was recently injured on the 4th, here nor there, but he's the one that came to my rescue.
Right.
You know, he was like, "Oh no, honey, let me help you." I mean, he was so far as bringing me. He says, "I'll take you to the hospital. I got an ambulance coming." One of those things. And but when I got back home, he had his wife cook me meals, take care of me, and I'm
Wow.
like, and people are afraid of him?
Right.
Seriously? He's the nicest guy I've ever met. He's like family now.
Right.
And I just wish, the I hope they get that out of the book the most. That
They will.
resiliency and tolerance for other people that are different, because being different doesn't mean you're bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a piece in the book that I met a gentleman doing ranger training that he was actually gay, and at that time there was no gays allowed in the military, and we became good friends, and we got to know each other, and I really empathized with him and the situation that he was in, and how he moved through the ranks, and how he was able to actually hide it, but at the same time be able to live in the military environment, and he's as dedicated a soldier as any of us.
Yes, I bet. Now we're going to jump a little bit and go back to your mother for a minute. Is she
Hmm.
still living?
Yes, she is.
And what does she think about your book?
She haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay.
I talked to her a lot about it because there's a piece in the book about my childhood and being abused by my stepfather,
Okay.
and and all of that. So I haven't had that conversation yet, but I am going to have that conversation.
Well,
She's
you need to come back on
86
the
years
show
old.
so I can hear that part two of that conversation.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, again, his book, I'm speaking to my audience here. his book is fantastic. Let me tell you, it is gut-wrenching. It is like, whoa, on your seat. As I said earlier before, it belongs as a film. I mean, it really does. And the book kind of reads that way. You know, it's action-packed. It's just it, and it's full of grace too. And it's kind of weird if you're dealing with everything that you've been through and have gone through, that is full of grace. It really is. And I love that. That's why I couldn't wait to actually get to know you and interview you. I know this is a weird way to get to know somebody, but I really love getting to know the authors that I
I
work with.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
and I've always said everybody has a story to tell. So give us a little clue. You said this is the first book, which I did not know, that you have two more coming. What are they, follow-ups on the faction part, or is it total fiction?
They're all faction. They're
Okay.
all faction books. And the
Okay.
only reason I wrote this one as fiction is because there's a lot of military operations and things that I talk about in the book that I had to basically fictionalize. So
Right.
I couldn't reveal sources and the locations and so those are the pieces that has been fictionalized in
Okay.
the book, the operations and things like that. That I really didn't want to get clearance from State Department to write a book.
No, we don't
So
need that in our lives, especially authors' lives. You know, we don't need that.
exactly. But yeah, but they're all the same way. When my dad was on his deathbed, I spent a week with him recording all of the things that he could talk about and tell me about. So the third book is going to be all about him
You know,
and
you see,
his
my daddy
story.
wouldn't tell me nothing.
Well, the thing I realized is that even though that he left when I was 7 years old, uh, throughout the book, and you read this through this book, is that there's a lot of pieces that he actually drove a lot of the things in my life from behind the curtains that I had no idea.
I bet. Well, where can now your book I know is available on Amazon.
Yes.
Where else is it available?
It's actually available on Barnes and Noble. It's going to be available in the local bookstores. I'm encouraging everybody to go to bookshop.org and buy the book from there because it's just like going to your local bookstore and buying it. They would actually, you pick a bookstore and they would give the profits to that particular bookstore. So they're kind of for local mom and pop books. So I really encourage people to go to those things
Do you have the
versus.
website for that?
Yes, yes. It's all on my website. It's pnberg.com. They can go to website. There's links for all of them, all of places to order the book on the website. There's also a blog about the women life freedom movement in Iran. And because I'm a big supporter of women's rights and women's freedom in the world, so there's blogs about that on there. There's blogs around resilience that I call it the Warriors blog that's on there as well. So there's a lot on the website to explore and look at.
Well, Nick, you have been an absolute pleasure, and I think my audience is going to love not only you but your book.
I appreciate it.
It
Thank
is
you.
fantastic. So I'm telling all of you that are listening to this, buy this book, go to his website, like he said, and order it on that bookstore. What is that bookstore again?
Or bookshop.org.
Bookshop.org. Go
Yes.
there and buy it because now you're going to be helping a local bookstore also make a little bit of money. And we need all those
Absolutely.
locals we can get. So
Yes,
please do
absolutely.
that. And
Yes.
let's support Nick. And I cannot wait, Nick, for book 2 and 3.
I appreciate it, Dr. Mel. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate
Oh,
your thoughts on this.
no, you are an absolute delight. And I look forward to many, many things to come from you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.